भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you, Malti. We now have the Zoroastrian prayer by Freni.
Thank you, Ma. Shri Pak Dadar Avramazdani Madad Hojo Ji. Gorje Kore Avajiad, Pak Afshune Shahe Faredun, Wapak Beram Yazed Panabad, Ham Jartoshti Madadgar, Ham Papi Negedar, Afshune Shahe Faredun, Wapak Beram Yazed Panabad. Yatha Ahu Vairyo, Yatha Ratush, Ashat Chithacha, Vanghe Ush, Dazdau Meningo, Shaute Nanam, Angyus Mazdai, Shatrem Chai, Ahurai, Aim, Drigobyo, Dadatavastarahem. Yatha ahu vairyo, yatha ratush, ashachithacha, manghe ush, dazdau meningo, shaute nanam, angyus mazdai, shatrem chai, ahurai, aim, drigobyo, dadatavastarahem, ashem vahu, Vaishtam vasti, usta asti, usta ahmai, yadeshai, vahishtai Hashem. Shri Pak Dada Rovramastani Madad Hojo Ji. Sarosh Yazad Nipana. Thank you.
Thank you, Freni. We now have the Christian prayer by Ramesh.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Ramesh. And now we have the Sikh prayer by Gulu.
Gungar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirbhav Nirvair Akal Murat Ajoni Saibang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Hai Bhi Sach Nanak Ho Se Bhi Sach Soche Soch Na Hoye जे सोचे लखवार चुपे चुप न होवई जे लाए रहा लिवतार बुकिया बुक न उतरी जे बन्ना पुरिया भार सहस्याणा पालख होवई त इक न चले नाल कि सचियारा होइए किरकुरे टूटे पाल, हुक्म रजाई चलना, नानक लिखिया नाल। वाहिगुरु जी दा खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी दी फतेह। बोले सो निहाल, सत श्री अकाल।
Thank you, Gulu. Is there anyone else who would like to say any prayer? Okay. So now we move on, and I request Mr. Janaki Ram to kindly introduce our esteemed speaker. Over to you, Mr. Janaki Ram.
Good evening. I welcome Professor Pankaj Basotia and all the participants. He is Assistant Professor of Philosophy at Rajiv Gandhi Government Degree College, Shimla. He has been teaching philosophy for the last 26 years. We are very fortunate to have him for this evening's talk. He is a student of late Professor Daya Krishna and Professor Bishambar Pahi. His main research work is on death and meaning of life in Vedic and Upanishad philosophy. It's a very important sphere of research. He is also now interested in studying deeply death and life as described in the teachings of Mahabharata and Kashmir Shaivanism. In fact, pandemic has created a lot of havoc in everyone's life. And like many of you might have faced, I have also lost many friends and colleagues to the COVID. Recently also, we lost some of our friends, former classmates and child colleagues. So even though chapter 2, Krishna describes very nicely about we should not be worried about death, but that is looming large, particularly as we become older and older. So it's a very important topic. He has also written 16 papers and published in various journals. And naturally, a professor of his outstanding caliber has been invited and he has presented paper in more than 60 national and international conferences. So we are very fortunate to have a topic, as I said, today is Apara Ekadasi. And ISKCON, I am taking lessons from them, so they keep me posted about when is Ekadasi. So that is how I came to know. And now I hand over to Sajani on the talk by Professor on Dharma and Pragya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Janaki Ram. And now it's over to you, Professor Basotia.
Thank you, Sajani ji. Thank you, Janaki Ram ji. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes,
It's
very
clear.
clear.
Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. I would like to pay my tributes to the founder, Ma Menize. I'm not sure, am I pronouncing her name? Ma Mezine? Mani?
Manize.
Amazing.
I would like to pay my tributes to her. What a wonderful platform this is to think and to reflect upon really serious and spiritual matters. I would like to pay my deepest tributes to her. So already Mangal shlokas are done, so I don't need any Mangalacharan. Let me begin straightforward. The most common use of dharma in today's world is religion. For example, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, etc. But if we go behind in the history of the tradition, we find a much deeper and wider meaning of dharma. Rather, not one, but many meanings of dharma. I'll come to the multiple and many meanings of dharma, but let us begin by stories. I would like to share two stories. Both are from Mahabharata, and one is of Kaushik Rishi, and the other one is of Yudhishthir. We all must have heard of this story when Yudhishthir and his all brothers and Draupadi were going towards Swarga. Swargarohan. We have heard about this story, Yudhishthir and the dog story. So these two stories I want to share in the beginning. The first one is of Kaushik Rishi. This is in Shanti Parvan of Mahabharata. Kaushik Rishi had taken a vow that he'll always speak truth. He'll never speak false. He will never speak untruth. So one day when he was doing his tapasya in the forest, a businessman with his all jewelry and all his savings and money was running, and he came to the Rishi and he said, I am going to hide behind you somewhere in the trees, and there some dacoits are behind me, they are running after me. Please don't tell them that I am hiding there at that place. This businessman didn't know that the Rishi Kaushik has taken this vow of speaking always, that he'll always speak truth. The dacoits came, and the Rishi, because he had taken this vow of that he'll always speak truth, so this Rishi indicated clearly that that businessman is hiding there only. And this is how the dacoits caught this businessman, and they slaughtered him, they looted him, everything they looted. This is one story. The Rishi had taken a vow that he'll always speak truth, and he spoke truth. Now the question is whether he did a right thing or not. This is the question here. This is the crux of dharma. What one should do or what one should not do. In this case, there are many meanings of dharma, but in this case, the question is what was his moral duty. So that is the question of dharma. What was the dharma of the Rishi? Whether he should have told the truth or not told the truth. When we think over it, and then I see that some people say that he was right in his own, he was right, and some others say he was not right. He did not follow the true meaning of truth, actually. So this difference is, and this thinking over is, it leads us to pragya, what intelligence, true intelligence is. Now let us take the other story. And in this story, Yudhishthir and with his brothers and his wife was going towards the Swarga. They were climbing Himalaya. And one by one, all his brothers and his wife went down, they died. They left him alone. Only one dog was left with Yudhishthir. And when he reached on the door of the heaven, Swarga, then the watchman of the heaven did not allow the dog. He said, Yudhishthir ji, you are welcome, but the dog is not welcome. Dogs are not allowed in heaven. And Yudhishthir made it a point that this is the animal who has accompanied me all over. So I am not going to leave him on the door. I'm not going to leave him here only. If you allow the dog to come with me in the heaven, only then I'll enter heaven. And then we all know, most of us have heard this story. The dog was the Lord of Dharma, Dharmaraj. He appeared in his true form, Dharmaraj, the dog. And he said, Yudhishthir, this was your last examination and you have passed it thoroughly. Now look at these two different choices made by, one choice was made by Kaushik Rishi, and the other choice was made by Yudhishthir. The difference between these two choices is that Kaushik Rishi's choice, his notion of dharma is static and mechanical. While Yudhishthir's notion of dharma, what to do, what should I choose, this notion is much more dynamic, much more sensitive, and full of love and compassion. Both have opted out, but one's criteria is other and the other one's criteria is other. So this topic, the topic of dharma and pragya, while I'm talking about, is that the only thing I want to say in this whole talk is that dharma is not a static and mechanical concept. One has to apply his intelligence to think over and to choose over what is dharma and what is not dharma. That's all I want to say in this whole talk. After these two stories, we can go back to some academic things, such as the multiple meanings of dharma. So, dharma in Sanskrit, it is called dharma, and in Pali, it is dhamma. Both have almost the same meaning in the beginning. The word dharma has roots in the Sanskrit dhri, which means to behold or to support. From this, it takes the meaning of what is established or firm. Dhriyate loko anen dharayati lokam va. In Rigved, the word appears as an stem, dharman. Figuratively, it means to sustain and sustainer and supporter. What about the different meanings of dharma? I have almost 9 meanings here. The most popular meaning of dharma is duties, especially our religious and moral duties. Then law, dharma is also used for law, moral laws, social laws, political and even cosmic laws. Dharma is used for merits, moral qualities. We must be knowing about purusharthas, dharma, artha, kam and moksha. These 4 purusharthas are accepted in the Indian tradition, and dharma is the most fundamental among them, the first one, which is the foundation of the other 3. Without dharma, we cannot strive for the other 3. Dharma is the foundation and the root of the other 3 also. Then dharma also means actions according to scripture, shastra vihit karma. It means nature also, our original nature, swabhava. Swabhav, by dharma we also like to bite is the nature of snake. Snake's nature is to bite, like that nature. Then good, well-being, punya, righteousness, these are also meanings of dharma. Sometimes the meaning is to justify. To justify also means dharma. And the one very important meaning is rit. Rit. So rit is the Vedic concept of dharma. Let us talk a little bit about rita. This is closely dharma, the concept of dharma is closely related to satya and rit. Rit is cosmic law of sustenance. To understand this cosmic law of sustenance, let us talk about law of causality a little bit. We should understand the law of causality. Whatever is happening in this world, it has, if we see it as an effect, then it must have a cause behind it. Things which are happening in this world, in this cosmos, in this creation, are not arbitrary or accidental. They have a cause behind themselves. Like this creation in itself must have a cause behind itself. Otherwise, this will be an arbitrary and accidental thing, which will be without any purpose. So the Vedic rishis believe in this concept of rit. Rit is the cosmic law. Whatever is there in this world, whatever is happening, moon, stars, day, night, winters, summers, constellations, rains, month, and the annual calendar, all are governed and systematized by this cosmic law. So they are not happening by chance, or they are not accidental by nature. They all are connected with each other by sequence and by a deeper law of causality. Not only the word of nature, but the human word is also governed by this law. If a human action is good by nature, then its fruit, its effect is also bound to be good. Shubham kritva shubham labhet. शुभ कर्म का फल शुभ ही होगा. And if it is not good in nature, the human action is not good in nature, then its effect is also bound to be not good. Krit, it's called like this, karma, it's called Siddhant, Karmavad ka Siddhant, concept of Karmavad, which says Krit ka pranash nahi hota, means whatever we do, its effect is never lost. We are bound to get its effect. And akrit ka abhyupgam nahi hota. What we have not done, effect of that action will never enter in our life. कृत का प्रनाश नहीं होता और अकृत का अभ्युपगम नहीं होता. So we can see that this law of rit, the cosmic law, it does not work only in the world of in the world of nature or creation. It works in the world of human beings also, in human actions also. The effect of human actions is determined by this law of rhythm. So Rit and Satya and Dharma, both they all three are almost the same in the Vedic corpus. If we come to the Upanishads, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad begins by raising this problem of human actions, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that here we find a discussion in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that even after creating all Chaturvarnas, the Brahman created Chaturvarnas. We know the Purush Sukta. In Purush Sukta, the Brahman creates Brahman from his mouth, and Kshatriya from his bahus, and Vaishya from his lower part, and then Shudra. So even after creating these Varnas, the Brahman is not satisfied with his creation, and he is not able to create or to imagine Vibhuti Yukta Karma. What is Vibhuti Yukta Karma? In the human context, Vibhuti is accomplishment. It's not only accomplishment, but it's also nurturing, and it also stands for ample and cherishing. So Vibhuti Yukta actions, there was no space for Vibhuti Yukta actions. And to create a space for Vibhuti Yukta actions, God overcreated, almost Ati Srishti. He created Dharman. So Dharma was created especially to give Vibhuti to human actions. Vibhuti is accomplishment, cherishing, and nurturing. So Dharman was created as Shreyas. It was created as righteousness and as good. This Dharma, as Shreyas, as good, was the ultimate regulator of all. Therefore, nothing is greater and higher than this Shreyas and is this Dharman. We know about Kathopanishad, the debate between Shreyas and Prayas. So let's come to this Shreyas and the difference between Shreyas and Prayas. Defining this Shreyas further, Kathopanishad says that Shreyas and Prayas are two different sets of meanings and values. Those who opt for Shreyas are rewarded with well-being, while those who opt for Prayas are deprived of true meaning and true value. Both these meanings, Shreyas and Prayas, come to human beings in mixed form. Shreyas and Prayas are always mixed. But those who are dheer, those who have patience, they can separate it thoughtfully. So this separating Shreyas from Prayas is Pragya. Vivinakti dhiraha. When you can separate Shreyas from Prayas. So only Dharma is not enough. You need to act upon Dharma, to fulfill Dharma, to accomplish Dharma. One needs to differentiate between Shreyas and Prayas, to differentiate between Dharma and Adharma. This differentiation brings us back to the issue of Pragya. In Kathopanishad only, Pragya is seen as Bahuvid Chintan. If we think in a unidimensional way, if we think from only one standpoint, then this is against Pragya. And if we can think in multidimensional ways from many standpoints, that is Pragya. That is Bahuvid Chintan. The style of Upanishads is of dialogues, is of questions and answers. So when we are in dialogue, one can raise many issues from many standpoints. Even in question answer also, by raising different sets of questions, actually we are thinking on the same thing from many multiple standpoints. So there is no difficult definition of pragya according to Upanishads and Buddhism and Jainism, which we will talk later. The simplest definition is that we have to think in a multi-dimensional way. We have to think from many standpoints, not from one particular standpoint. If we think like Kaushik Rishi thought only from one standpoint, that was the problem. If you think only from one standpoint, then your concept, your thinking, and your notions and theories will always be stagnated. They'll be always rigid. If we can think from multifacetedly, if we can think, then we can think openly and we can think of many aspects of it. So this style of dialogue itself and question answer itself is kind of a smart way of thinking intelligently. Now, before we go back to Mahabharata, these two stories from which we talked about, let's talk about Buddhism and the methodology of Indian philosophy in general, and see how directly or indirectly they follow this path of pragya. See, in Indian philosophy, what is the method? In Indian philosophy, the method has 3 steps. Every person who follows philosophy, any school, we know popularly there are 9 schools of Indian philosophy. There are more even, but most importantly, we consider 9 schools of Indian philosophy. 3 of them are Nastic and 6 of them are Astic. By Astic and Nastic, they don't mean faith in God. They mean faith in Vedas, that Vedas have the supreme knowledge. Those who believe that Vedas have supreme knowledge are called Astic, and those who believe that it's not necessarily that Vedas have supreme knowledge are called Nastic. Charvak, Bauddha, and Jain are Nastics, and Sankhya Yoga, Nyaya Vaisheshik, and Mimamsa Vedanta are Astic darshans. But either you are Nastic or you are Astic, it doesn't matter. The method will be the same. Every Indian philosopher has to follow this method. What is this method? First, if you are doing philosophy, first you have to derive other theories, your opponent's theories. First, you have to study the opponent's theory in detail, and then you have to derive it. You have to mandan. That's called parapaksha mandan. Parapaksha is opponents. What is opponent's position? You have to derive it in detail. So to derive that, you have to understand it fully and properly first. If you project it not properly but unjustifiably, if you project it, then you will be considered as a non-philosopher, as somebody who is following not good means to do philosophy. So Parapaksha Mandan is the first step. So you see, if you are a Charvak, first you have to understand the other 8 important philosophies, and those other 8 philosophies have their sub schools. So can you see that how in the method itself they have tried that a person who is trying to follow or trying to do philosophy must think not from one standpoint, but from many standpoints. And more importantly, from his opponent's standpoint, that he should understand fully well. Only after that he'll get the right to deny and to refute and to find shortcomings in that opponent's position. That will be the second step. So Parpaksh Mandan is the first step, and Parpaksh Khandan, refutation of the opponent's view, is the second step. Only after understanding fully you have a right to defend your position and to refute opponent's position. And the third and final step is only after doing this you can derive and you can explain and describe your own position, that how your position does not have those shortcomings which the opponent's theory had. So what I'm trying to say is that the definition of pragya is very simple. if you are thinking only from one standpoint, that you are not doing pragya, you are not following pragya. If you want to follow pragya, if you want to think intelligently, only thing you have to do is you have to think in a multi-dimensional way from many standpoints. That's the only thing. And in Buddhism, Bhagwan Buddha has explicitly given this definition of pragya. Pakaren janeti iti pragya. Pakaren janeti panya. Panya. Pragya. Knowing by many ways is pragya. That's all. Thinking from only one standpoint is not intelligence, but thinking from many standpoints is intelligence. Uh, Bhagwan Buddha has given the Ashtangic mark. He has given the Four Noble Truths. Dukha hai, there is suffering, there is cause of suffering. If one wants, he can get out of this suffering, and there is an explicit way, explicit method to come away, to go beyond this suffering. But with this, he has stressed upon three concepts, three other concepts. Those are Shil, Samadhi, and Pragya. This Ashtangic marg can be reduced in these three things: Shil, Samadhi, and Pragya. Shil is good conduct, Samadhi is meditation, and Pragya is intelligence. And Pragya is considered even higher than Samadhi. If one goes deep in meditation and he has a Gahri Samadhi, he has a deep Samadhi, even than Buddha in the Buddhist sect, he will not be considered as a enlightened person. Only those will be considered as enlightened whose pragya is developed. So pragya is the highest, even after Shil and Samadhi. Intelligence is even higher than meditation. What are the three forms of intelligence? Pragya has three forms. It has Shrutamayi Pragya. Pragya is Shrutamayi. Pragya is Chintanmayi. And then Pragya is also Bhavanamayi. Shrutamayi Pragya is listening. You must be good in listening. Your Shil and your Samadhi must complement your listening. You must become a good listener, a better listener. Then your reflection, your thought process must be deepened after meditation, after Shil. Your Shil and Samadhi must complement your reflection, your thinking. But even higher is Bhavanamayi, which what we call emotional intelligence these days. So listening and reflection are good, but emotional intelligence is even higher. That's the highest form of pragya. What is this emotional intelligence? That is love and compassion, prem and karuna. I'm using them as separate words, but in Buddhism, if we call it karuna, that's enough. They don't need prem as a separate word. Karuna is more than enough for them. And let's go back to those two stories. What was the difference? Kaushik Rishi had taken this vow, but did he have karuna? Was his karuna really sharpened? While you see the Yudhishthir story, Yudhishthir had a deep compassion towards the dog also. So this is what is the highest form of pragya. Prem and karuna is the highest form of karuna. Jainism goes even deeper in this thing, in this definition of pragya. And Jain theory of knowledge, as well as their theory of matter, their metaphysics and their epistemology, both are deeply rooted in this concept of pragya. For that, I'll mention their three theories. First one is Nayavad, and the other one is Syadvad, the second one is Syadvad, and the third one is Anekantvad. All these theories, Nayavad, Syadvad, and Anekantvad, in one way or the other, are complementing this theory or this simple notion of pragya. What is Nayavad? Nayavad, Nay is relative knowledge. So Jains are saying that all human knowledge is relative. It is limited and it is relative. Why? Because all human knowledge is either from one standpoint or from some other standpoint. For this, to explain this, they have a story. That story is of elephant. Suppose there is an elephant and there are five blind men who have never seen an elephant in their life, and they have not heard about it, they have not read about it, and they are taken close to the elephant. One person touches his one person touches his trunk, the other one touches his leg, the third one touches his stomach, one touches his ear, and the fifth one touches his poonch, what we call it, the back part of it. And when after this, when they are asked, tail, poonch is tail. So after touching all these parts, when these five different men are asked how the elephant is, the one who touches his ear says it's like a soup from shred. That thing in agriculture we use to separate grain from shred is called soup. It's called chajla in our language. I don't know what you call it. So the person who touches ear says it's like soup. The person who touches his stomach says it's like a wall. It's like the person who touches his leg he says it's like a pillar. It's like a long pillar. And the one who touches his tails, he says it's like rope. And now let's think over it. None of them is speaking untruth. All of them are speaking truth. But none of them is speaking complete truth. So Jains are saying we all are like that only. We all have a limited and relative knowledge of the world, of the events. This knowledge is limited by our standpoint. We cannot see it from all standpoints. That's why our knowledge is limited. Now, how to explain this in language? If our knowledge is limited and relative, then how can we explain it in language? For that, they have the theory of Syadvad. Shad is perhaps. Because it's relative and limited, that's why we cannot say that it is absolutely true. So for that, they use the word perhaps. Perhaps it is the second. Syat asti, syat nasti, syat nasti, syat asti nasti cha. Or फिर asti and nasti cannot be together. It is and it is not. These both are not possible together. So it's unspeakable, anirvachaniyam. That's the fourth thing. Now all the first three are connected with this fourth one. Syat asti anirvachaniyam cha. Syat nasti anirvachaniyam cha. Syat asti nasti anirvachaniyam cha. So these are 7 forms of how we can explain this in language. This relative and limited knowledge of ours can be explained only in these 7 sentences. That's why it's called Saptabhangi, 7 forms of knowledge. Now if I take a pause and I remind you of that Vedic saying, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuna Vadanti. This may bewilder some people that if truth is one, then how those who are Vipra, those who are wise, how they can say it in different forms if truth is one. So this Jain theory of Syadvad is a very good example of it. That when maybe the truth is one, but how we conceive it is different, is from different standpoints. And that is why it is said in different forms, in different manners. Ekam sat vipra bahuna vadanti. Their metaphysical position is even deeper. That's called anekantavad. Anek is infinite and ant stands for qualities. So everything has infinite qualities in itself. And even at the same time, these infinite qualities can be contrary to each other also. And it may sound difficult, but it is not difficult at all. Like right now, I'm speaking to all of you. I'm speaking from Shimla. So I am in Shimla. So at the same moment, with this same quality, the infinite negative qualities stand at the same time here only. Like I am speaking from Shimla, I am in Shimla. So it implies that I am not in Chandigarh, I am not in Delhi, I am not in Bangalore. So one quality of mine is affirmative, that I am in Shimla. But with this one affirmative quality, infinite negative qualities are also implied. So you can see at the same time, everything has infinite qualities. And these the more interesting thing about these infinite qualities is that they are contrary. They may be contrary to each other. So at the same time, I may be having opposite qualities in myself. Everything has it. Let's take another example. Let's take a pen. Here is a pen. Jains have a very interesting claim. They say if you want to know this pen fully and completely, you have to know all things of the word fully and completely. Only after knowing all the other things of the word fully and completely, you can know this pen completely. Eko bhava sarvata yena drishta, sarve bhava sarvata tena drishta. If you know one thing fully, you will know all the things of the word fully and completely. Only by knowing this pen completely, I can know the whole word fully and completely. But the second line, mind you it. The second line says, only by knowing all the things of the word completely, you can know this pen completely. Eko bhava sarvatha yena drishta, sarve bhava sarvatha tena drishta. Sarve bhava sarvatha yena drishta, eko bhava sarvatha tena drishta. Only by knowing all the things of the word completely and fully, you can know this thing completely. How? That's very simple, not a big thing at all. If I want to know this pen fully, I have to know that this pen is different from all other pens. So to know that difference fully, I have to know all those other pens fully. Now this pen is different from my laptop, from my table, from all other things of the world. So to know this pen fully and completely, I have to know all the other things, and to know the difference between pen and non-pen. I have to know all the things which are not pen. I have to know all of them fully and completely. Only by knowing them, I can know this pen completely and fully. Eko bhava sarvatha yena drishta, sarve bhava sarvatha tena drishta. Sarve bhava sarvatha yena drishta, eko bhava sarvatha tena drishta. So this is the Jain position. And if you can see, they are deeply talking about this, that one, if we think and if we know things only from one standpoint, that's a very, very limited and relative knowledge. One should know things and events from many standpoints, from different standpoints. Maybe he cannot know from all standpoints, but he can definitely know from more than one standpoints. Now let's come back to Mahabharata, the two stories I talked about. In Mahabharata, dharma is a very central concept of Mahabharata. But here I will talk only about Shanti Parvan. Shanti Parvan has three parts. All those three parts are about dharma. The main name, the main heading or title of the Parvan is Shanti. But within this Shanti Parv, there are three main chapters, three main parts of it, and all those three parts are about dharma. The first part is about Raj Dharma, the second part is Apad Dharma, and the third part is Moksha Dharma. The first thing I want to draw your attention towards is the thinking or the grasping or conceiving or understanding of Dharma is not possible without Shanti. Only in a deep peace within we can understand what dharma is and what dharma is not. In this Shanti Parvan, it's after the war, and Yudhishthir is lamenting deeply. He says, "What will I do of this Rajya? What will I do of this kingdom which is based and which has come out of the blood of my own kinship, blood of my own brother even. Karna was his own brother, and their mother was the same, Kunti, and he didn't even know that Karna was his brother. So he is lamenting upon everything. And to this lamenting Yudhishthir, every other person is trying to convince him. Yudhishthir says, I'm not going to accept this kingdom. I'm not going to be a king. Even at a time, he is thinking of suicide even. And in this juncture, all other persons who are not lamenting in that way and who are relatively normal are trying to convince, are trying to give their version of dharma. Bhim, Nakul, Sahadev, Draupadi, Krishna, Vyas, all these people are trying to explain their different versions and their different aspects of dharma according to them. So in this way, the Mahabharata, the author of Mahabharata has given many versions and many theories, many aspects of dharma in front of us. So the definition I'm using of pragya is used in a different way as a device. Different versions are given there. And finally, according to Bhishma, in this Bhishma Parvan, Bhishma gives three lakshanas, three characteristics, main characteristics of dharma. They are, the first one is prabhav, the other one is dharana, and the third one is ahimsa. Prabhav is well-being, dharana is sustenance, and ahimsa is non-violence. Prabhav is nurturing, cherishing, providing more amply, prospering, increasing, enhancing. What is dharana? Dharana is to support, sustaining, bringing together, and upholding. And ahimsa, most of us know what ahimsa is, non-violence. In positive sense, Gandhiji explained that ahimsa is prem and karuna, which what Buddha talked a lot about. Now, I won't speak for more than 5 minutes. Let's come to Gita. Janki Ramji was talking about the second chapter of Gita in the beginning. You see a little bit more carefully in the second chapter of Gita, and you will see that Krishna is not talking from one standpoint. Krishna is talking about from many standpoints. He's trying to explain Arjun that you think either in this way or in this way. Both ways you should fight. You should not quit. You should fight. I will give it first in the second chapter only I'm talking about. He talks from the standpoint of that soul is never born thereafter. Soul is never born. Therefore, it never dies. That's the first standpoint. That soul is eternal. It never takes birth and it never dies. Because everything which takes birth is bound to die. Soul never dies because it never takes birth. That's first standpoint. And from other standpoint is that Atman is born again and again and it dies again and again. Krishna is trying to explain Arjun that you take either view of them, you must fight. So what I'm trying to say is that even in Bhagavad Gita, things are considered in a multifaceted way. There is not one standpoint from which everything is considered. If you think that Gita is written or Gita is spoken only from one standpoint, then you may find many contrary things there. But these contradictions doesn't exist once you understand that even Krishna is talking from multi perspectives, from many perspectives. That's all I want to speak. I want to talk about only two things more. One concrete example I want to give you of a spiritual sadhana. How in spiritual sadhana, multifaceted methods can also be adopted. For this, I want to give example of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans. I can give example of Dattatreya also. Bhagwan Dattatreya, we all have heard about him in Bhagavad. There's this story, beautiful story of him. He had 24 gurus. So it's not necessary. What does it mean? It's not necessary that there are 24 human beings. By 24 gurus, they mean different perspectives actually. One should consider from different perspectives. One should think from different perspectives. And Ramakrishna Paramhans, in his story, we can see that he learned from many people, from Totapuri, from Bhairavi Brahmani. He even practiced Islam and Christianity. He practiced Tantra. He practiced Vaishnavi Bhakti, of course. So, like what I'm talking about is that it can be practiced not only intellectually, but even spiritually. We can practice from many standpoints, from various ways. That's all. The only thing I want to share here is that when we think from many standpoints, we are bound to be more tolerant. We are bound to be more accepting others. We won't remain rigid at all. We will we will have space for others. I think that is the gist of we will not remain mutually exclusive to each other. Things will become complementary to each other rather than contrary to each other for us. And I think that is the gist of dialogue between various faiths and various religions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. That was really very enlightening. Thank you so much. And now we will open it up to question and answer. Is that okay?
Yes.
I
Any
have two questions.
Yes, sir.
Very, very comprehensive overview, and at the same time, quite a detailed understanding. I think all of us got, I'm sure. My first query is Dharma related to also yugas like Satya Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga? Does it vary yuga to yuga?
So I'm waiting for the second question also.
No, second question is slightly different. So I think I'll wait for this answer and then.
Yes, of course, Dharma is related with Yuga. And in Mahabharata itself, there is a shlok that it depends on the times and circumstances also. With times and circumstances, dharma can become adharma and adharma can become dharma. So, dharma is definitely a time dependent concept, no doubt. One thing I want to say about Yuga and this theory of time is that the important thing is that it's cyclic. That's very important. Why we considered it cyclic? Because if we considered it non-cyclic, then it becomes absolute. You see, Satyug is bound to come again. After Satyug, there is Treta, then there is Dwapar, and then there is Kalyug. But even after Kalyug, there will be another Satyug. So this cyclic thing makes it relative. If we had only one Satyuga, which will never come back, then that was absolute, because it will never come back. So this cyclic things makes it closer to this notion of pragya. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It clarified. My second question is, or clarification is, now, of course, people say there are seven intelligence, and people also say there is a brain in head, there is a brain in heart, there is a brain in stomach, and brain is distributed throughout the cells, and modern science and research is telling us. So as I said, from different perspective, one should decide our intelligence. We should also combine head, heart, and stomach in all decision making. That how is it covered in our Upanishads or teachings? Does it cover like the holistic way a person has to decide?
I would say that I would only say that we can see things in two ways. One is mutually exclusive and contrary to each other. That's one perspective to see at things, to see at theories. And the other one is complementary to each other. So what I am trying to suggest is that the other way is a better way. And Upanishads, as far as I understand them, they actually endorse this. Because by questions and answers, by dialogues, by mutual dialogues, they are trying to bring in different perspectives together.
So that is the key. Different perspectives and different ways of looking at and synthesizing and contradictory things. And as you rightly said, understanding the other person's viewpoint, like you said, this 9 streams of philosophy.
Yes.
Thank you. I got the clarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Kindly unmute and ask your question.
I have a question, Sajani.
Yes, Ramesh, go ahead.
Namaste, Pankaj ji. Thank you for this very nice session today. I should also tell you it is seems very coincidental that at our School of Ancient Wisdom we have a newsletter, and this next 4-part series is based on Dharma, so it's very appropriate time. Now, my question is related to this 4-part series. You see, I have taken the simplistic segmentation of Dharma, the 4 legs of Dharma, by what ISKCON and many others follow. I used to serve at ISKCON myself before, in fact, a few years back. It says the 4 legs of Dharma are cleanliness, austerity, mercy, and truth. How does that fit in with whatever you've explained today? I know that truth is the most difficult to follow. So generally, whenever I speak with my loved ones or my friends, I keep telling them that it'll be good for us to start off with cleanliness. And I've taken on the sankalpa of following this in my own life, where be it at home or even outside, I try to leave a place cleaner than when I found it, even a public place, to whatever capacity I can. So how does this 4 legs of Dharma stand with whatever philosophy you've spoken about so far?
Okay, can you please repeat these 4 legs? What are they?
The 4 legs of Dharma are cleanliness,
Okay.
austerity, mercy, and truth.
What is the third one?
Mercy.
Mercy, karuna.
Daya.
Daya, okay. So I don't know where from did you get this. Actually, there are many traditions of dharma. Okay, we for thousands of years we have been talking about this, and especially when the Dharma Shastra tradition starts, Manusmriti, Yagyaval Smriti, and things like that start. They start giving characteristics of this dharma. Okay, as far as I am concerned, I would I don't mind these 4 things. Tapas, Karuna, and Satya. Those are the last 3, and the first one is cleanliness. So I don't mind these 3. I don't have any disputes with this. But as far as I am concerned, I am more convinced with those 3 characteristics. Prabhav, Dharana. Dharana is sustenance. The survival is the first important thing for every human being, for every being. So survival, after that, well-being, Prabhav. So Satya, Karuna, and Swachhata are, I think they are well taken within well-being. And the third one is Ahimsa. Ahimsa very importantly stresses upon love and compassion. So we can find many Lakshanas in every book. We may find different things. In Manusmriti, in Yagyavalkya Smriti, in Bodhi Charyavatar, the Buddhist literature, in Bodhi Charyavatar, we find very extensive discussion about Pragya and about Dhamma. Every book will suggest you many things. As far as I don't have any disputes with it. As far as I am concerned, I liked these 3 criteria very much. Prabhav, Ahimsa, Prabhav, Dharana, Prabhav, and Ahimsa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Kindly unmute and ask. No more questions? All right. There don't seem to be more questions.
I have
So, anyone? Gulu? Okay, that being the case, thank you so much, Professor. And now I request Ramesh to propose a vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta.
I do that, Sajani. I was saying that I do have another question.
Please ask.
The question is that I've read that family, the entity of a family is the most.
Can you speak a little loudly? I'm not able to hear you.
Oh,
Yes.
Is it better
A
now?
little loudly.
Is it
Yeah,
better
it is.
now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Louder.
I've read about the entity of a family being the best indicator of the success of any civilization. And I know that if a family follows dharma, the better people follow dharma, the more prosperous any civilization is. So, what is the best way in which we can support our families to grow in a dharmic way? Is it by introducing people who are about to be married to the concept of a good spouse, a good parent, and so on?
I would only say only by understanding others better. That's all.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Ji.
Thanks, please.
Right. So, as indicated, Pankaj Basotia ji, your talk has come in at a very opportune moment. It is actually kind of dovetailing with whatever newsletter is going to come out in the next 3-4 days. The first topic is the topic of truth, because that is the underlying topic, and the other three will be followed. Cleanliness, austerity, mercy will be the other 3 months. So it is very opportune. It looks like the divine has literally guided you to come to us at this time, and you've spoken about this topic. It is really wonderful that you have enlightened us in this manner. The two stories from the Mahabharata are very eye-opening, because I myself have taken on various sankalpas, and sometimes I've at all costs I've tried speaking the truth, and I found that it is not exactly practical. It is not mixed with compassion and kindness. And it really drove home the point when you explained those two stories of Kaushik Rishi and Yudhishthira story as well. You mentioned that knowing what dharma is and following it are two different things, and we must become aware of that. And the Indian philosophy is divided into two categories of Astic, and that Vedas have supreme knowledge, and Nastic, where Vedas do not have supreme knowledge. And the philosophers must do this. That is, I hope I get the pronunciation right, Parpaksh Mandan, and that is just studying the opponent's position first. Um, uh, Parpaksh Khandan, then you can refute the opponent's theory. You're qualified to do that. And the third one, you said you can propose a better position. I didn't get the Sanskrit word for that. But this seems like a very scientific and extremely not only modern, but eternal kind of context through which one can approach the idea of choosing the best system that is relevant for the times. So that is a point that came out quite strongly. And when you spoke about Pragya, you also mentioned that one must be a good listener, be able to reflect, and have that bhavanamai, the emotional intelligence, love and compassion. And I mean, so well grounded. I think these are things that we should really be taught in all our schools. This should be, it's a very crucial aspect for our life sciences, and should be introduced in schools at a very early age. And you also spoke about how the philosophies of Jainism and Buddhism work to a certain extent. And ultimately, I think the essence behind all this is that while dharma can be related to yugas, it can be time dependent. And it's always good to look at various theories to make it inclusive of various perspectives. The essence really is love and truth. So that's what came out. And thank you so much for your wonderful talk today. It was very simple, down to earth. It was very simple hearted delivery, I should say. And thank you for that. And thank you for the space that you've created, and thank you for being here. We'd love to see you. We'd love to see you at a future program in the school.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. And the Loka Samasta, please.
On that note, let us all sit straight with the back, neck, and head aligned. Let us all connect with one another. After all, we are Atmas and the same Paramatma. Let us, through the Loka Samasta, send out our prayers, our good wishes, our love and gratitude and protection to the universe, to all the communities that need support and guidance, for peace in different parts of the world where there is war, for recovery and good health where the pandemic has prevailed. Let us also pray for our own community members and remember them as we do the Loka Samasta. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Kindly join us again next Thursday. We have the Akashic records, and it should be very, very interesting. So Reena Sen will be talking to us on Akashic records. So I'd like all of you to come and also tell your friends. Remember, this is a platform where we can have 1,000 people. So it would be nice if you could tell your friends to join, because I remember this is a topic that Ma Manize used to talk about also during her satsangs, the Akashic records. So we look forward to having you. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Thank you, Professor. That was really a wonderful talk. And as Ramesh said, we look forward to seeing you at the school when you're in Bangalore.
Sure.
Thank you. Good night, everybody, and see you next Thursday.